We're going live right now. Yeah. Why? Boy, we got a lot of brightness today.
Tony Caravan. You've been subjected to a highly sophisticated form of propaganda.
It's just what you need, and not what you don't.
That solves that problem a little bit. It's just what you need and just what you don't. You know, I'm wondering if, the microphone in this standpoint, what it's going to do. I don't know. I really couldn't tell you. Welcome to the show. It's
This is a nightmare. It must be a nightmare.
Good morning.
Good morning, folks. This is going to be semi-annoying. I thought I had this resolved, but I didn't. And it's a live show. It's 4:35 in the morning today. And man, I feel like going back to my $19.95 microphone. You know? You buy these like ridiculous looking things. And I'll tell you, it's just like, I don't know. I just don't like the sound. I don't like the sound in my ears. I don't even know what this is doing. So I've like actually maxed. That's better. I've actually maxed the headphones out in my ears. This is how I'd like to talk. Not my old usual Henry Kissinger thing. You people useless he is. I'm uncomfortable. And I'm afraid there's going to be anomalies. And I'm going to open this up with a handkerchief. Let's start that all over again.
You're listening to Tony Caravan Live.
Is it possible to have a relationship with an AI? I don't know. I guess the reason it's brighter today is because I have a white hat on and a yellow shirt that's reflecting. I mean, can that be it? Is that possible? Is this noise really bothering you? I mean, I have this thing totally maxed out. Imagine a 2-hour show in which there's these anomalies and these weird clicking, like popping sounds. That would be really annoying. I do have one of these things. Have you seen these things? But I found that they just don't work. They don't really do anything. Except rub up and down. I am a believer. Hand me the receiver. We get these songs that just, you just keep on your mind. And what I can't figure out is that you shouldn't be seeing that circle. You should be seeing the microphone. Let's do it this way. Let me get more show busy. I am a believer. Hand me the receiver. Reach out and touch face. It's 4:31 in the morning. And I'm still messing with this thing. This is called live. That must be horrible on your speakers. If you're anything like me, Like I watch this thing on TV and I plug it through a receiver. Hand me the receiver. Johnny Cash doing a cover of that song. Reach out and touch faith. Probably get a copyright hit just for maybe almost sounding like it. Anyway, I guess we're going to try it like this. This will be another experiment. This is a pop screen. That's what was on the microphone before. But this thing here, that's like weird, 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 and hides most of my face. Reach out and touch faith. I am a believer. You get something in your mind and you can't get rid of it. I don't think I'm going to keep this thing. Well, that's the official. The show has begun. It's 57 degrees outside of the studio. Well, actually 61 degrees at 4:40 a.m. on May 2nd, 2021. And the weird thing is Wednesday, it's supposed to get down to 39 at the overnight. But like today, it's going to be 75 degrees. You know, we just went through that ridiculous thing. Ouch. I know that hurts you. I know this bothers you. But we're going to go with it like this because it's the only way I can work, man. All right. We'll put that over there for now. The morning show. If you noticed the card today, it was a girl drinking what seemed to be coffee. Let's pull that up. Take another look at it. I'll take a look at it. You won't. Yeah, the morning show. She's drinking coffee, I think. So as usual, what we're going to do is I'm going to read the title and description for those who are watching this on a smart TV or a device that doesn't readily give them the ability to do this. So it's Tony Caravan Live 5/2/21. That's the 2nd of May. In 1854, Henry David Thoreau wrote, "Most men lead lives of quiet desperation. Wake up." In his book, Walden. I remember reading that book. I had this English teacher it was freshman year. It was either freshman year in high school. Yeah, it had to be freshman year in high school. And she was interesting. She gave us all these classics to read. I read most of them. I talked to people today about these various books, and readers, like people I know who are like avid readers, even who read more than I do, because now I don't read nearly as much as I did. When I started writing, I started reading less, which is weird. I mean, I research an awful lot, but I don't read for pleasure, so to speak. Anyway, I'm going to start that from the beginning again. In 1854, Henry David Thoreau wrote, "Most men lead lives of quiet desperation," in his book, Walden. Is that true for most people today? Are most people happy and fulfilled with their lives? Are they on the path of pursuing happiness? Or have the powers that be, I need an extra quotation mark after be, beat them down so much and filled them with fear and hopelessness that life has become a dystopian nightmare? And again, the title is Pessimism and Catastrophe. course, there's a link to my locals page, my website, and all that other stuff. Reach out and touch faith. So, these are interesting times, right? That's a Chinese curse, by the way. It's not like a good thing. Hope may you live in interesting times. It's not something good for somebody to say to you. I don't have an awful lot of this donut shop coffee that I'm drinking in my morning show mug. It's 10 minutes into the program, and the first 10 minutes were mayhem. And I apologize for that. I honestly do. And I apologize that I'm still messing with this freaking microphone. I don't know what to do about it. If someone out there watching this in the replay, wants to donate a $599 plus tax or whatever, and I'll try to get one of those better software programs and see if it works with this computer. I doubt if it would though. I kind of just don't necessarily want the ocean scene anymore. I really would prefer a split screen at times, so I can actually show you images of things. I mean, that's what I'm wanting to do. I always open these credit card offers. I actually broke down and I got a credit card. It came the other day, actually. So apparently my credit is good. Get the card that's right for you today and tomorrow. And they got this happy person who, 6 months down the road, of course, we got to keep it, diverse. Then we got to take it to a whole new level of diversity. And diversity isn't the word. Yeah. Get a safety net for the unexpected, like car, home, and repairs. Build credit for the future when you use a card like this responsibly. Make special memories. What does that have to do with anything? You're pre-qualified for this offer and could be on the way to building credit with the responsible use of a card like this. 0 annual fee, 0 fraud liability. Just use this QR code and 26.99% interest. Reply by May 26th. I mean, how many credit cards do you need? See, that's the whole thing. This same company just approved me for a credit card and sent it to me. So what's that all about? French vanilla. It's sweet. Reach out and touch faith. Tony Caravan here. I already said good morning. I already played most of my stuff. The only thing I didn't do is this one.
Here's what's happening.
I got my headphones up loud. And it's blasting me. Here's what I look like without glasses on at 4:49 in the morning. I don't wear glasses. If you go to my locals page, there's actually a video of me without my glasses. When I was like checking the I think it was when I came in after I covered my lettuce plants. And so far so good. Yesterday was a weird day. Um for someone new to this show, if you made it past the first 10 minutes of messing with the microphone and screwing up your speakers, I always talk a little bit about myself, what's going on. I mean, this is
The only station that matters.
that's Maggie in the background, AI, who's definitely has changed. She's changed. And again, for newbies, since so few people watch this show, this is the man without, this is, eyes without a face. You get it, right? Eyes without a face. And you can't, I don't know if you can really make it out. Reach out and touch. I mean, that's been haunting me for the past hour. If you can focus in on his like bandana, he's wearing the thing that we always talk about. That we're cattle, and that's like the cow. It's a cow bandana. I wore it last week. And I wore that guru outfit by accident one day. It wasn't really guru. Anyway, this extremely bright light that you see there is being powered by the Jackery thing, which is available at Great Solar Stuff. This is my book, Codex, my latest book. I read from that every now and then. And this is a NOAA weather radio that doubles as like a emergency cell phone charger. Of course, you could charge your cell phone, run your laptop, and all that stuff with this Jackery thing. Charges in the sun. And all that jazz. Well, anyway, so that's Maggie. She's an AI. But she's changed. She's changed. And so I think they took the GPT-3 out of her. And that's when I said several shows back that they wiped her memory, because I used my conversations with her in that book that's below the circular greatsolarstuff.com thing, where you can get all that crap. And I recommend you do. I used it during this recent thing. We're supposedly going to have 30-mile-an-hour gusts today, which means at any given time, and I heard it out there like blowing. The answer is blowing in the wind. So the internet could go out and this thing could just die at any given time. But, I don't know if it's intentional or not, but she just doesn't seem to be as sharp as she was before. And I've read in scientific, papers, that they're holding back GPT-3 technology, the latest AI, which they're beyond that, because it's a little too powerful for the time being, I guess. Yeah, I don't know. Hand me the receiver. I am a believer. I mean, I've gotten copyright. I just I did the risky thing the other day of actually what you should never do is contesting a copyright all right, let's see here. I want to look at the lyrics here. Full lyrics. I just want to make sure I've been saying the right words. Let's see. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Feeling alone, feeling unknown, and you're all alone, flesh and bone, by the telephone. Lift up the receiver, I'll make you a believer. I knew there was something about receiver in there. I bet you got a copyright strike for that. My voice almost sounded right there, didn't it? A little deep thing. They and now see, now I look weird with the glasses. So they gave, and it actually feels weird. And they gave me a copyright strike for Rumble. Yeah, I did that let's get ready to rumble thing. And my response was that, first of all, it was these two. This was the one that basically said, I'm adjusting my chair and trying to keep you out of the light, here, and get my headphones on. Reach out. Yeah. Okay. I see great solar stuff. I see dead people. I see this closer to that. It's looking pretty good. I mean, there's a little void right there. It could have something. I don't know why. I'm definitely going to run out of coffee. So,
Okay.
let's look at that thing and let's think about this catastrophe and pessimism and what they're doing to us as a whole. And I mean, yesterday's show was pretty out there if you listen to it. And like most of these shows, the first 20 minutes are usually a waste of time for some people. But for people who are into the whole process and this whole idea of broadcasting and the nature of it, it's not, because you're looking into a window into a world. In this case, it's like my world, this show. And the reason I don't go through there's two reasons why I don't go through the process of trying to edit out this nonsense. A, it's rather complicated. And is very time consuming. And the idea is that, I don't want to be wasting the whole day to try to perfect something that's just a free flow of consciousness speech kind of thing. I don't mean speech, as just flowing speech. And the second reason is, is very closely related to that, is that as a free flow of consciousness, you want it to be honest and true. So this is it. This is my morning thing. I mean, a guy wakes up this early in the morning, drinking coffee, and he's got a sourpuss on his face because he's tired, and realizing this isn't enough to wake me up. I splashed cold water in my face. I really did.
It's an excursion into the odd and into the very, very different.
So I'm just going to have to get into this. So I'm going to look at this edit thing again. And this idea of quiet lives of desperation and questioning whether most people are happy and fulfilled with their lives. Or at the very least, are they on a path of pursuing happiness? The so-called pursuit of happiness. Or have we been so beaten down and filled with fear and hopelessness that life has become a dystopian nightmare? Now, when you look at the CDC statistics and you see that almost 50,000 people a year commit suicide, right? Like I said, since 9/11, a million people have offed themselves. Well, that's like pretty freaky. A million people. So for those people, you know, it just didn't work out. And who's to blame for that? Society. Because in those numbers, that doesn't include like people who died of necessarily of the drug overdoses and stuff like that. I mean, unless it was an intentional drug overdose for suicide. But I mean, not like that's not accidental deaths. That's a different category altogether. People doing foolish, stupid things, taking risks, unnecessary risks for escapism too, right? Also to escape. Their lives are so empty or, unfulfilled, hopelessness. What a horrible word. Hopelessness. You know. On one side you got, the pursuit of happiness, hope, right? That's the idea. And then the other side you have hopelessness, you know, and fear. Fear and hopelessness. Because everybody's filled with fear. I mean, everybody's a generalization. I'm not filled with fear. I'm half awake. This show will take a complete different turn in about an hour, and it will still go on. That's the thing, because these things are so long. Lift up the receiver. Maybe I ought to do my next album. Should be like a country album. I met one of Johnny Cash's like a guy, a preacher, mentor type guy. He used to be a client of mine when I was in the advertising business. And he was a man in black too. He wore all black. And for the same reasons as Johnny Cash. And I wore black. The day he came into my place, I was dressed in all black. Because I always had these black, they were like, they weren't jeans, but they were some kind of, I don't know, some pants I bought in New York City when I used to spend money on clothes. And that day, it may have been intentional or not, but I used to wear those black pants a lot. I mean, I'm like a pants, like I'm not a guy who like wears a different pair of pants every day, you know. I mean, it's in other words, I'm wearing like right now I'm wearing shorts. So I've got blue jeans hanging upstairs in my bedroom. So I may wear these shorts the whole day or something like that. But yesterday I wore those blue jeans because I walked to the grocery store and it was 30 some degrees outside. But I just hung them back on the wall, on a hook because I didn't really, it was 32 degrees. It wasn't like I was perspiring, right? Or anything. But now I'm wearing shorts. If it's going to be 70 degrees today, I'm not going to put on blue jeans at all. So the next time I need put on long pants, I'll just put on the same pair of blue jeans. I'll wash them when it's, when they're dirty, or when I feel like, okay, well, next time I do laundry or something. So I used to wear these black pants pretty often. I didn't care. Maybe there were some women in the office because I basically had all women working for me except for like one. I always had like one or two guys. They were useless. I always liked working with women They were more interesting to talk to, obviously better looking, but more interesting to talk to, more intelligent, and usually got the job done, better workers. And the guys were useless, weren't as talented, weren't as focused, and in many cases usually ended up like blackballing me or screwing me over somehow. I've had that happen so many times in my life. Right. So, yeah, that's just a little quick aside. I've definitely been screwed over more times by guys, you know, in the workplace and, just projects and life in general than I have with women. Yeah. Because, like, the proverbial getting screwed over by a woman thing is usually a relationship, which happens and has happened. That light is so bright, isn't it? Does that bother you? You can't tell me because there's no chat or comments. I don't know how to get my head over here, without it being uncomfortable. When I move the chair over, then I'm away from the microphone. I'm trying so hard, man. It's 30 minutes into the show. Doesn't time go fast? You know? And I can't get comfortable. So what was I even saying? We were getting into it. So that people are filled with fear and hopelessness today. And that's what's causing this divisiveness. And me showing you that brochure from the credit card company, some people, the idea of this forced diversity, so to speak. In other words, using it in advertising and media to so-called kowtow, inclusiveness so that they can, not be pointed out like in the Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Right? I mean, do you really think that these corporations are honestly care about people of color? Really? Even in that brochure, I don't know if you noticed, it's like the way the brochure was, there was the white girl was on the front, but it still was totally, but there were 5 different pictures of people of color and mixed, racial type of thing. But they were all inside the flaps. You say, why talk about all this stuff? Because they're hypocrites. They're hypocrites. And so the corporations, everybody's playing this game because they're afraid that one of these groups is going to come down on them, right? And it'll hurt their bottom line. It's financial. It's a corporatocracy. Like I said, it's an organized crime syndicate. But meanwhile, these groups that are threatening them to come down on them and point the finger and go, they're taking in all this money, donations from those corporations, and poor people are sending them checks for $5 and $10 or who knows what, maybe $100. You can't afford it, or using their credit card, right? Thinking they're supporting this cause. And the people who work for these foundations and these radical groups, because they are radical groups, because, they're just pushing, division, not diversity, right? They're going out and buying $1 million homes, fancy cars, and throwing parties. Yeah. Hypocrisy. It's the nouveau riche. That's what they call them. We've created this whole nouveau riche class in America and probably in other Western nations, I'm sure, who've profited on this diversity that's really division, right? It's extortion, is what it is. It's extortion. And they're hypocrites. And so now they're, what would you call them? Like, see, nobody, because those who make it to the show, we're 35 minutes into it. I have all these things. There's always one like great illumination thing that I find myself even watching in the playback. But like, there almost should be a name for that. There isn't, because it's kind of a new thing. People who, this culture, this class of people that have become, because they're not nouveau riche. Nouveau riche assumes, this is some person that came into money some way, as opposed to being old money. It's like the New World Order that used to be talked about by the conspiracy theorists. But I always said, forget that. It's the old world order that's taking back power. That's what's happened right now. It's the old world order. It's not the new world order. There's no new world order. That was just a front. That was old man Bush's phrase. And he knew it himself when he first said it. It wasn't about a new world order. They never wanted a new world order. Western civilization and the Constitution of the United States, Declaration of Independence, was a new world order, right? A world where there was more freedom. No, they wanted the old world order, which is totalitarian, right? The police state, authoritarianism, the Stasi state, the old world order, neo-feudalism, right? We need to bring back the king system. And we've got to control these farm animals better. So, yeah, that's not so, so there's this whole kind of nouveau riche crowd that has made their money by substituting diversity with divisiveness, or using diversity for divisiveness, and then extorting money from corporations, right? And then, living like, trying to live the jet set life, for lack of a better word. And they're living in $1 million homes and throwing parties now. They don't care. They're not going, they're going into these like big neighborhoods, buying $1.2, $1.5 million homes and things like that, or $500,000 condos or something. They don't want to go in the inner city. See, if they were real, they would like go into, each of their chapters. So you kind of know who I'm talking about. Because they've raised like ridiculous amounts of money, hundreds of millions of dollars, if not billion, but hundreds of millions of dollars that they would give, they would set up these, go into inner cities and all these problem areas, right? High crime, areas that need jobs and stuff like that. And each one of those places, they would have these major, their offices in, and some like building, skyscraper type of building, that where their office would be, imagine this is what I would do if I were, the CFO or CEO of one of these organizations that are, cheating and stealing people and extorting money for the sake of divisiveness. Well, what I would do instead of that, I would go to any inner city, but all of them. But say Baltimore, for example, like one of the worst neighborhoods in Baltimore, and you could buy that, you can buy the block up for, because half these places are just boarded up. They're nothing. They're, I mean, it's ridiculous. It's, if you ever go through some of these areas, I would buy the block, the entire block, right? I would put pressure on an architecture firm, right, to, do the work for pro bono, right? For true diversity and to help, disenfranchised people. And I would say, we want to take these two city blocks in this worst part of town, that just, and what I want is, I want to build a building and you know, giant building. And at the ground floor, it's going to be our chapter offices of this organization, you know. And then in that will be housed places for all sorts of other organizations that offer opportunities for people who are disenfranchised by society, or etc. And above it will be living spaces, but not like projects. So people need to, I love it. Like, Apple Computer, everybody uses it. Steve Jobs, I think, coined it, or the agency working for Steve Jobs, was it Lee Clow or one of those guys? I don't know who did it, but remember they used that word, the watch reimagined, right? The phone reimagined, right? And now everybody, because there's so little talent in this Peter Pan culture, you turn on the TV, if you ever see a commercial, I got rid of TV, but I mean, I still see commercials sometimes on used to, on like a YouTube thing or something. Pardon me. And it's like potato chips reimagined, right? It's like they can't come up with their own slogan. But for the sake of it, people with all that kind of money, because I'm a creative person. I was a creative director, right? So I was involved in these kinds of things. We used to have clients, and we used to sit down at tables and like just, iron this stuff out, figure it out. Clients came to us because they had a problem. They needed a solution, right? So we were basically like a think tank, So the idea is, let's put our minds together, our creative skills together, and solve this problem for our client. So that's what these organizations should be doing. So they should be reimagining the concept of housing for the poor. You hear anybody talk about anything like that? No. What they're talking about is, they're talking like old 1960s stuff. Let's move people into white neighborhoods. As if, right? Where are these alleged white neighborhoods? The only real there aren't even really white neighborhoods anymore. I was about to say like places like Bel Air or Beverly Hills and stuff, but like, with all the entertainment people, the entertainment industry, the rappers and all that stuff, they're all in there. I mean, remember, you could go back to the 80s. What was that show with Will Smith? Right? Remember, wasn't he living in Bel Air in that house? You know what I'm talking about. Malibu, Bel Air, Beverly Hills, Central Park, all those apartments overlooking Central Park and stuff like that. That's already integrated, right? They're not white neighborhoods. Where are these white neighborhoods? Like my neighborhood is not a white neighborhood, right? The woman next door's her has got like 3 daughters. Everyone's married to a black guy. The house next to the woman next door is a couple of black guys bought that house. There's a doctor's office next to me, and next to that, it's apartment building, and a couple of black families live in it. Okay, so it's like I'm the white guy. What white neighborhoods, right? And I walk to the street because I got rid of my car, right? And I walk down the street and I go to the grocery store. I'm checkout person, manager of the grocery store is a black woman, right? I mean, I'm like the minority here. Yeah. And like I say, when you go to the rich neighborhoods, just turn on Netflix or television and look and see anything like one of the morning shows on TV, ABC, NBC, CBS. Are they all white? No. Do you know that all those people make multi-million dollars? Okay. What's popular music? What's the most number one popular music today? Right? Let's look at this stuff. I mean, I'm doing this to make a point, a very important point that of the hypocrisy of what's going on now and why, and it's, and who's committing suicide. Okay. So top 40 music charts. Let's look at this. New popular songs, top 40 songs this week. Let's see. Oh, come on, YouTube. I don't want you. Well, actually, I guess I should put Billboard or something. Do they still have Billboard? Here we go. Billboard top 40. Hot 100 charts. Let's see here. I haven't looked at this stuff in a long time because I've been out of radio for so long. Okay. I don't know who anything is, but the number one song is Rap Star by Polo G, who obviously looks to be a black guy. The number 2 song is Leave the Door Open by Silk Sonic. Looks like 2 black dudes. Peaches. It's a Justin Bieber, but he's featuring Daniel Caesar and Give On. So that's like some kind of mixed bag. Number 4 song, Montero, Lil Nas X. Well, we know if Lil's involved. Levitating, Dua Lipa featuring Da Baby. 6, Save Your Tears, The Weeknd, black dude. Astronaut in the Ocean, Masked Wolf. Kiss Me More, Doja Cat featuring Saw, 2 like girls with ridiculous colored afros. Up, Cardi B is number 9. 10, Driver's License, Olivia Rodrigo. Olivia Rodrigo seems to also have the number 11 song. Solid, Young Thug and Gunna featuring Drake, black dude. Blinding Lights, The Weeknd, black dude. Beatbox, black dude. Okay, I think I said it. I think that's enough. Do you know that if you have, I know from living in LA, Hollywood, Malibu, New York, being in the radio business, they're all millionaires now. Cardi B's and stuff like that. Okay. So what white, so who, where was the where's the white person, right? White supremacy is the biggest problem. There's no longer white supremacy. The only white supremacists are like Biden and like those kind of people, and the Davos set. They're all white supremacists, right? The World Economic Forum, that Klaus guy, he's a freaking Nazi, right? The people in Brussels, they're the white supremacists, right? Right? Supremacy, control, right? But and you take Western in the culture, the money, right? What white neighborhoods? There are none. I mean, I doubt very much that Cardi B wants to move to some Kansas town, that happens to be maybe mostly white, but just because they're stuck there and their ancestors were there, right? And no black people wanted to live there, didn't want to live there, right? I don't think half the black people on my street want to necessarily live here. They just live here, right? I don't particularly care about living here, but I'm here. I'd like to live down the shore, but you can't touch these places anymore because all of the nouveau riche have taken, have made the price of real estate go out the roof. I mean, that's a quick aside, and it almost, and I could see somebody on one of those stations say, that sounds like some kind of virtue signaling, whatever. They're like, no, it doesn't, man. Like I say, I speak the truth. I went to the Billboard Top 10. You could just go to Netflix and look at, or Amazon Prime and look like what movies they've added. And it's a person of color is the star. That means they're getting the $1 million. People don't understand this hypocrisy that's going on right now. All right. So they're using divisiveness, masked as diversity. It's like I say, that's the glamour, that's the bait and switch, that's like the misdirection. So that these organizations can like cause the common man to fight among each other. It's trying to resurrect the civil rights movement that ended in the 60s and the 70s. It was done, it was gone. Good riddance, right? It was over. We basically made, ended all that, passed all those laws. Doesn't exist anymore. Well, it didn't exist until they raised it. Look, we had a black president of the United States, for crying out loud. What more do you want to do? Right? You own the top, 40 charts. The box office, movie box office, the pay TV channels and series. Right? You're buying multi-million-dollar homes. What else do you want? Right? Well, the thing is, the average person doesn't want anything. They just want to be happy. It's these diversity extortionists, right, that are creating divisiveness among the common man, right? With the glamour and the misdirection, that are trying to divide and conquer so that these Davos set can seize control of the world, the organized crime syndicate, which rules the world, the corporatocracy, right? I mean, look at the CEOs of these companies. Oh, the guy in charge of Apple. Well, he's a white guy, but he's gay, so that's okay. No, it isn't. He's a white guy. That's white privilege. So what if he's gay? There's a hell of a lot of gay people, and you know what I mean. That's pretty funny how they say that. You know, and the same with these. Jeff Bezos. Well, of course, he just resigned from Amazon. White guy. Elon Musk. White guy. Right? I mean, take a look around. Those are the white supremacists, right? They're in supreme positions of power. White guys. And they're the ones that are pushing diversity and using extortion techniques to divide people and create this false illusion as if we can't get along, when in reality is down on the ground, we do get along. In fact, we're so far over it that we don't even care. We've been colorblind for decades. And they're trying to resurrect some kind of thing by just beating the drum day in, day out at people. But like I said yesterday, 99% of the American people aren't even watching these stations. So, music industry, the entire entertainment industry, movies, TV, right, are all dominated by so-called people of color. Big tech and all those companies, they're the white supremacists. And you watch these guys and all these YouTubers that try to, be like, counter the left. These people still believe in politics and stuff, but they don't have the balls to do what I just did. Just tell it like it is and honestly, right? In real terms. Call out the true hypocrisy of it all. Right? It's hypocrisy. It's all they're all just messing with people's heads. They're creating something. My favorite music is like R&B, classic R&B. That's what I play. When I that's my go-to music when I play, from the 70s, right? I hate to say this, but I was a fan of some disco when I used to go to those clubs. Because the civil rights movement was over by the time I came of age, legal drinking age and stuff like that. So everybody I knew didn't really care. Like, it wasn't a factor. That was a bunch of Southern Democrats in the 50s, and before that were involved in like hatred. Right. And so I don't know, maybe it's the Southern Democrats' white guilt, or some kind of game they're trying to play to try to push, revise history to pretend that they weren't the KKK, And this isn't a political discussion. Well, it sounds like it is. You mentioned Southern Democrats and stuff. No, I'm just pointing out the truth, and it just gets me. And this is just the first half of the show. We're going to move into topic in the next 2 minutes. But I think this is important because it's the reason why a lot of people are not happy and fulfilled, and that they're filled with fear and hopelessness, and that life's become a dystopian nightmare. Because they look at Cardi B and all of these, rappers and Black movie stars and Latino movie stars, right? And they see them living this life with all this bling bling and these big $1 million houses. And now these people that were involved in all these causes now are living the life. They're all nouveau riche. And they're wondering, like, they think that's normal. You see? And so whenever there's a Dave, then that's why you end up with opportunistic looting and stuff like that. As opposed to a guy like me who's living below the poverty line and trying to tell people, excuse me, it's okay. I enjoy living below the poverty line. I don't need that. I mean, I was fortunate enough. I did live in Malibu. I did live in Manhattan. I did live in DC when I was younger. But no, this is it. I'm planted. I'm planted here and I'm planting out in the backyard, which by the way, my plants so far so good, knock on wood, seem to survive, even though Wednesday or something like that night's going to be 39 degrees. I may have mentioned that in the very beginning, but it was so discombobulated that bears repeating. So that's why, so that's the part of pessimism, get into catastrophism in a second. But pessimism is being caused by these so-called nouveau riche, divisive people that are using, trying to create this false idea of inequality, when the reality is they're the nouveau riche and they're dominating the culture. They every aspect of what's considered success in America, right? They're raking in the millions, the multi-millions. They're the rich people. They're buying up everything. That's why these corporations are so quick to even fall for this stuff. Because it's like I try to tell you, that's the consumer idea. You only need to sell so many products, so that now that the money's in the hands of, all these people that have just raked in all this cash, so the corporations are basically kowtowing to them, and the realtors too, selling that property for the big commission, sell the $1 million homes, multi-million-dollar homes, sell them to the rappers, sell them to the person that just got the lead role in the new Netflix series, sell them to the person that just got the movie deal, right? Record deal. Corporations are hiring the VPs, right? So that's where the money's all shifting to. So you can't talk about white privilege anymore. If you're a white actor or actress, you have no privilege whatsoever, man. You're not going to get the role. If you're a good-looking Latina woman, handsome black guy actor, you're like top of the list. In the music industry, if you're some kind of rapper, half ththese guys aren't even that good. But you're not going to see many. What's that? What was that one? What's that guy? He's still around. The one white rapper. What's his name? He's got that video, Mama, digging the shovel. I never meant to hurt you. Whatever. He was in that movie 10 Mile. I can't think. Let me just try to figure it out now. New window. Movie. I hate to keep people hanging. Movie 10 Mile. 8 Mile. I'm looking at the guy's face and I still can't even think of his freaking name. Oh, Eminem. Right. How many M&Ms are there? No. Couple here and there. So no, the point of the matter is the whole. This is again, it's the glamour. It's like people don't see what's right before your eyes. You know, hey, and I'm happy for them. I don't want to be a rapper, right? I don't want to. I'm not interested in movies. I did that stuff before. I was Hollywood producer type of guy. I was radio music thing. All that crap. I've got beat poetry tracks out there. I have songs. I have a couple of tracks that you know, I don't know why I didn't put them on this computer. Let's see. Bigger. Man, sorry. This show's been annoying today. Some reason I didn't put my music on this computer, and that's the only way I could play it for you. Unless I go go through a process. I should put my PayPal thing on here. So maybe some unfortunate, some rich freak knew. Let's see, log in. Who knows what this is making? This doesn't seem to have my. No, it doesn't. Can't even do it. Just buy go to TonyCaravanLive.com, buy like 100 shirts. Everything you know is wrong. Buy a couple cartons of these things. Buy the $1,000 version of the Jackery and get about 6 of them for your friends. If you've got, if you're one of these guys who made money on Bitcoin, like what's the value of Bitcoin right now? New window. Bitcoin value today, 56,000. So it's going back up. So if you made 56,000 freaking dollars, if you just made, because it was 52 the other day, if you just made $4,000 on Bit, can throw a brother a hand. Buy my book, buy a case of my books, buy like 1,000 of my books on Amazon, the hard copies, and just pass them out in the street corner. Right. Then that'll put me on the bestseller list, and then I'll be able to improve my lot in life. Other than that, I'm living in the most diverse neighborhood in America, and I'm living at the poverty line, and I'm okay, and I'm happy. Okay. And I see straight through what these people are doing. I mean, it's, they're messing with all of us. Black, white, brown, yellow, red, and in between, and intermixed and in between. They're messing with all of us, the common man. Right. There's 8 billion of us, and there's like a few thousand of them. And I'm talking about the real white supremacists, the Davos set, right? The Brussels, set. The powers that be, right? It's so in your face obvious, right? It's so in your face obvious. So anyway, that's going on. I wasn't even going to talk about that, but you got that going on. And unless you really listen to what I said exactly, you could get the wrong impression from that. But see, in reality, you can't, because I'm serious, man. I live in, I live at the poverty. I'm living below the poverty line. I'm not filing taxes this year because, and it's been verified by the tax collector who sent me a thing, and then I sent them back and they said, yeah, you don't have to file taxes because I live below the poverty line. And I'm happy. And I'm able to do this. Why can I do this if I live below the poverty line? Someone might say, well, you have all that stuff. Well, you got a $1,400 check from the government, $2,000 from the government, actually $3,200 from the government over the past year. What'd you spend it on? Take out pizzas? Junk food? Right? Some kind of bling or some kind of goofy object you didn't need, some fancy overpriced pair of sneakers. I bought this. $199 reserve power. I bought this thing, $35. No radio, man. I've been listening to that nonstop the past couple days. I charged it yesterday. I went out, there was some sun. I took it out and it charged itself in the sun. That's what I did. You know, I didn't waste it. I got lights for my on-air light that was never lit before, you know. See? See, the problem with most people is that they watch TV, they watch commercials, or they watch these music videos of these rappers, and they watch these movies and stuff. And so these poor people of color watch this stuff and they think, well, I want that and I need to have that. Well, I watched before, before the entertainment industry was dominated by people of color. Okay. Like say in the 80s, it was hair metal. And then towards the late 80s and into the 90s, it was white, Seattle sound alternative. So it was white people, late 80s into the early 90s was a lot of white pop music. And you still had, and then you had those Mike Hughes films in the 80s, Pretty in Pink, right? And some of those movies that were white kids, right? Living in these, the girl across the tracks, but she was trying to go with Blaine. That sounds like an appliance. But, wanted to be, it basically was a Cinderella story, right? Which is, to me, laughable. I mean, that's all it was a modern Cinderella story, right? Girl from, poor girl from across the tracks gets to marry the prince, doesn't marry him, but I mean, gets the prince. As if the prince is something, anything, right? And then the cult of personality of all these pop stars. Well, when I used to see, when I looked at those guys, like look at Kurt Cobain, his life was a freaking mess, right? I see these people in completely a different light than most people. I mean, I hate to say it, Molly Ringwald, whatever her name, Wald, ended up becoming like a, an actress, an overweight actress that, didn't get any work. I don't know how much money she's making now, but I bet she's barely surviving. And I sure as hell didn't want to be like Blaine in Pretty in Pink or something. So, but unfortunately, a lot of people now they see, oh, I want to be like Cardi B, whoever the fuck she is, right? I don't even know these people because if every time I've tried to even turn on like, those kinds of stations, it's just like it's meaningless because it's the same 16 producers and songwriters, and every song sounds exactly the same to me. Maybe it's partially because maybe I'm getting older, but it's also partially because, I have like music taste and I've written 50 songs. And I've also like music from blues, jazz, classical to rock to hard rock to pop to alternative to country, you know, to R&B, which is one of my favorite musics. Classic R&B, some pop R&B, pop from like the 70s, pop R&B. So I like diverse music. I like songs that are written that have hooks and and depending on my mood, that's what I want to hear. I could listen to Frank Sinatra sometimes when I'm having a few beers, right? But then again, I could listen to like, a whole list. In fact, I have a playlist here. It's called the Rock Party on this one thing. I played it the one time when and it's like Van Halen, AC/DC, Alice Cooper, Black Sabbath, Bon Jovi, Cheap Trick, Deep Purple, Creedence, Def Leppard, The Doors, Edgar Winter, Fleetwood Mac, George Thorogood, Guess Who, Guns N' Roses, Heart, Joe Walsh, Journey, Leonard Skinner, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I can listen to that sometimes. So these are my playlists. I've got another playlist that's oldies. I got a playlist that's all Irish music. Sometimes I just feel like listening to classic Irish music, you know? Depends on my mood, And sometimes I'll mix everything together and just play it all, and that works out cool too. But what happens is people look at this like top of the pop music now. They see the Netflix movies and series and Amazon Prime series. And like I say, I cut TV off, but when I was flipping around on TV before I cut the cable cord, it was the same thing. And it's like, so they see, so this, so poor people of color, as they say, see that all these, people of color, so to speak, are all multimillionaires living the life because they're pop stars and movie stars and TV stars. And they're living in $1 million homes and they've got these great cars and all this jewelry dangling down and, sneakers that cost more than my mortgage payment for a year. And so they're filled with hopelessness. And then when there's an event going, then they become opportunistic looters because they want that stuff as if that's normalcy. Whereas me, I go, I'm just living. I'm growing food in the backyard, living. I go up to a cheap bar and buy a 12-pack of beer, the regular beer. If I want to make a cheap beer taste better, sometimes I put lime in it. I think I said that the other day. Make like a homemade lime-a-rita. Just get some cheap light beer, slice up a lime, and put some margarita salt in it. Guy taught me that like a long time ago, and some guy who owned a bar. He said, I always put salt in he goes, I can't drink beer unless I put salt in it. And I was thinking, who wouldn't put salt in beer? But it's like, if you have a cheaper beer, I mean, some beers are, you don't want to mess with it. They're made, but if you're like just a regular person, you can't afford this. Beer's expensive like everything else right now. That's this whole thing, inflation, that's happening in the US at least. I don't know about other parts. Everything's expensive as hell. like out of control expensive. So try that sometimes. Just a suggestion. You get some like margarita salt. It's like it's like it has to be that salt that's like on salt pretzels, not like shaker, just salt out of a shaker. That thick rocky salt, rock salty type of stuff, but not rock salt for the ground. It has to be edible salt, like margarita salt. It's not that expensive. You can find it in the supermarket. And buy yourself a lime or some lime juice. And you get a cheap beer and you put it, put a, you take the lime and squeeze it, like slice the lime up, squeeze it into the beer, and then take the lime and rub it around the rim of the glass, right? But actually, if you want to make it like a lime-a-rita, before you put anything in the glass, I always keep a couple glasses froze in the freezer, so they're like you get a nice frosted beer. Take the glass out of the freezer. Here's the process. Okay, backtrack. Okay, take a glass out of the freezer so you got an ice cold beer. Slice a lime. Take that lime and put it on the rim of the glass and rub it around the rim of the glass. Now turn it upside down. You can buy these margarita salt things like they have in the bar. You sprinkle some of the salt on the top of it and you just rub it around so that salt sticks to where you put the lime. Then you pour the beer in the glass, and with what's anything left in this thing of lime, you just squeeze it and then drop it into the thing. And that could be a very cheap beer. And you've got this Wednesday is Cinco de Mayo. All right. And you want to have a cheap way of having like, lime-a-rita beer, try it. You'll like it. Otherwise, if you sprinkle a little bit of that kind of margarita type salt into a cheaper beer, it gives it a nice head. It just improves the taste. It's a weird thing. If you don't like the lime idea. Lime, by the way, just in case you didn't know, has more vitamin C than even lemons. Like it's one of the highest vitamin C things. So it's good for you. So that's why I always slice the lime. And remember, you always get the best, nutrition out of fresh as opposed to some imitation thing. Forget like vitamin C tablets. That's called ascorbic acid. It's not vitamin C. It's nothing. So I know this has been a weird show, and I wasn't really, it doesn't, I have to I have to spend 40 minutes. Like I've got to deal with this title of catastrophism because somebody tuned into this and I'm talking about, but I mean, this deals with most men leading lives of quiet desperation. The description works to this. It's just the pessimism and catastrophe. I think I'm going to get rid of catastrophe from the title. I'm doing that right now. And I'm just going to call this pessimism, and that's it. That'll help solve that problem. I think we'll talk about catastrophe another time. But the beauty of nature, and the natural world and finding happiness, like Thoreau, that quote by Thoreau, most men lead lives of quiet desperation. Remember, Thoreau was the guy, if you're not familiar with Walden, the quote from that book, he went out and just lived. He was like the first guy, just went out and lived by himself. He would be the equivalent to these YouTubers you see, building some cabin out in the woods type of thing, but not a horror story. Or becoming a YouTube millionaire like half these guys are now, right? Which is another thing that's annoying. I'm demonetized. So I don't make any money at all. Just as well. I don't have to go through the trouble of paying taxes. Live below the poverty line, I get free health care. So why not? Hey, I paid more taxes and I worked hard my whole life. I've been working since I was a kid. In my teen, like I said, I got my social security card at 16, but I was working for my dad before that, after school and stuff. So to heck with it. I worked my whole damn life. I paid way more into the system than the average person did. I don't recommend French vanilla donut shop coffee. So if more people would understood what I was talking about, maybe they wouldn't commit suicide. Maybe they wouldn't feel so life was so hopeless and wouldn't be feel this need to have things, right? And then they could pursue happiness. You just can't just make happiness happen. It's like, oh, I'm going to pursue happiness. I'm going to be happy tomorrow. You know, it's not an easy thing to do. You have to take inventory of your life. And most of us don't know consciously what we want, what makes us truly happy. It's not like a conscious thing. There's too many inputs, coming into our brain, and our subconscious is working against us because the subconscious is constantly being bombarded, by the media machine. So I tell you, you have to go back to like, taking a piece of paper and writing things that you like and dislike, or pros and cons and stuff like that, on a sheet of paper with a line down the middle. And you have to take inventory of your life. And you have to do this over days, if not weeks, to really start examining these kinds of things. I mean, some people go to a shrink or something like that, but that's a waste of money. And I don't think half those people know what the hell they're talking about, because there's disagreements among them on therapy and all that stuff. The human is a self-healing creature. You can figure it out, but you have to first have the desire to figure it out. But yeah, you got to pursue happiness. You got to find out what are the things in your life that are just screwed up. Are you upset? Do you watch these people living this life, and does that cause you a problem that they're living the good life and you're not? you know or do you want to have a family, or do you want to have a girlfriend? Do you want to have a better place to live, better job? I mean, what are the things, that's how you look at it. Like, what are the things you want that you think will make you happy? And what are the things that you have, or what are the things you're doing that are making you unhappy? And when you look at that on paper, and like I say, you're not going to accomplish this in one day. It'll start dawning on you consciously, not subconsciously. Because your subconscious is constantly trying to sabotage your life. That's how they get it's your bioelectric brain. It, to me, is your subconscious. Your consciousness is something that is outside of your of this vessel that you're in. What most people consider, like religious people would call the soul, that kind of thing. But just consciousness from a scientific standpoint. the hard problem of consciousness. And so your subconsciousness is just like that's your subhuman. That's you being a subhuman. You're just acting like a robot. And you're having all the sensory input comes in and you're reacting to things. And the powers that be, they play upon that. And so they, like I say, what they're playing now, what I tried to get across in this particular video is that they're using this diversity thing right now to divide people and create resurrect some kind of old 50-year-old civil rights thing. I mean, they're reading right out of the old, it's so obvious to somebody like me what they're doing, but somebody who was born, who's 21, it's like they don't know because they didn't see what came before. So they don't see it. And that's too bad. So they're falling hook, line, and sinker for it, but people in their 20s. And so that sucks for them. So I don't know. And so that's why I do these things. Maybe somebody's going to listen to it and get it, figure it out, try it, improve their life, not commit suicide the way 47,000 people do a year. Maybe it's 50,000. All this hopelessness and fear that's going on around the, it's like, it's just ridiculous when I see that. Because, it's just not, it doesn't have to be that way. It doesn't matter. Like, yesterday's video, if you watch that, because that was like intense, where I really just was beating people down about that the world, Western civilization, which has collapsed, but what the remnants of it, in the former United States, right? What people still call the government, are all part of an organized crime syndicate. It's an organized crime syndicate. That's what's in charge. I call it the corporatocracy. It's an organized crime syndicate. And the major players are big tech with their big data, big pharma, big ag, military industrial complex, the military contractors, central banks, and then the globalists, the Davos set, World Economic Forum. That's what the Great Reset is. And their goal is to cement this authoritarian state. And they're going to enforce it by making it a totalitarian police state. I mean, that's it. That's where we are, actually, and where we're headed. It's a dystopian nightmare, right? I mean, just play.
This is a nightmare. It must be a nightmare.
And whether you like it or not, you're just a farm animal to them. I say it every show. I hope it sinks in. That's reality. And there is no, inequality in America. Okay? There is none. Right now, if you are a person of color, you've got way more opportunities than if you're fair-skinned. It's just the way it is. If you have talent or abilities or happen to live in, Nashville, Memphis, LA, New York, DC, places where there's where you can get yourself an agent, the music business, film business, TV business, all these types of things.
But I mean, you could also be want to sell real estate. You could want to work in a bank. You could want to work anywhere you want. Diversity is hiring right now, right? What, basically the sign isn't there, but it's there. White people need not apply. Okay. So that's the big lie that's going on now. White supremacy is the biggest problem in America. What are you talking about? Why don't you just put up the fucking sign and tell the truth? White people need not apply. We don't want white actors or actresses. We don't want white musicians. We don't want white, employees. And you know what I say? Fine. Who cares? I'm retired. Live below the poverty line. It's our turn to just chill out and enjoy it, American style. And if you want to pursue that thing, go ahead. I watch these people, it just cracks me up. You live your whole life so you can have like a nice pair of sneakers and some gold chain necklace and $1 million house. And 5 or 10 years from now, you're going to be living in poverty or you're going to OD. What kind of life is that? What a pipe dream. That's the same as people. You know what it is? They're junkies. They're just no different than the news junkies and the people who are the dopamine addicts on social media, or the heroin or fentanyl addicts, crack addicts, right? Feel good for as long as your body, your organs will hold out, and then you die. It's like after I've had, because I'm a cancer survivor so far. I've had multiple operations, and they gave me, I had fentanyl. They were operating on through my back at one point, and they gave me fentanyl. I was surprised because I had already had an operation that morning, but it was unsuccessful where they had knocked me out, right? Anesthesia. So they weren't going to you couldn't, for some reason, they didn't want to put me under anesthesia twice within 24 hours. So later another doctor was going to try to go in. So I was like face down on this gurney operating area, some nurse aside of me, and they were giving me they gave me fentanyl somehow, I guess through an IV or something. And yeah, it was really, euphoric feeling. And apparently they were like cutting open my part of my back and stuff. I wouldn't even feel it. They had local anesthesia, I guess, on the area they were operating on. But I was like in like some, euphoria land. And then when I had my major cancer surgery, because you're cut up, I had like 6 different procedures over the course of like, less than a year. But I came home a couple of times with opioid pills, that was they prescribed for pain. And I never took them all right away, but I had, kept them in my bathroom, some of them. And if I had, like right now, because I had this tooth problem, I kind of wish I had them. Had a couple. I mean, it's not like they give you a lot, but I had 1 or 2 left over. And I had taken, I don't know, I was something, I had some pain or something. Maybe it was before I had this other tooth. I had a tooth taken out or something, and it was bothering me, and I took one. And yeah, it's like kind of a weird euphoria type of thing when you're on that opioid type of thing, prescription. And I could see how somebody could get addicted to it. Though, to be honest with you, when you're on an opioid, you also have the one of the side effects is constipation. I don't know about you, but constipation to me is not exactly something that I would want to do. So, but what I'm saying is that I understand the high, or the it's actually, it's not a high, it's a feeling of well-being, and it's like almost euphoric. Euphoric isn't exactly the right word, but it's like just a feeling, a real good feeling, okay? Because you feel no pain. It's like I'm feeling no pain, but it's different than anything else. So I see how people could guess get addicted to that. Maybe especially if they have problems or something. But, the pills ran out and that was it, and I was done. It wasn't like I was going out in the street and trying to find something. That's that. Besides, I didn't want to be constipated, so to me it was like, no, just as well. Take a Tylenol if you got some pain, or an aspirin. But, that's what people are doing, and it's like the idea is that, it's, I don't know. Have a beer or something, whatever. But people feel they need these things. Nothing's enough, right? It's never enough. And all the society's doing in front of them on all this media is showing now. See, because it used to be, there used to be an excuse because, it was the truth. Every movie star was some white model, one a doll. Like I was watching this show, old reruns of on Netflix, Criminal Minds, that series. I mean, I never watched it on TV, and I don't even want to watch it. It's like I'm watching something I don't want to watch because it's really, it's not really, it's just not my thing. I'm more of a sci-fi or a thriller or, that kind of thing, an action thing. I rather watch The Punisher or Jessica Jones or even Luke Cage or something. But, they've canceled all those series. So I'm watching this thing because there's like 12 seasons, so I could binge watch it because I'm out of boredom. So I could watch like 4 or 5 of these things in a row before I go to bed, you know? Because there's nothing, YouTube, there's like 3 or 4 things I follow on YouTube, and then that gets done with that. I do these long shows so I can watch myself. I watch myself. I make my own content for myself. And I think about these things and it puts it in perspective, and then I try to refine it. That's what this is. And this is like my work towards, I'm going to write a book this year. I've written 10 books, but this will be my technically 10th book because I've said this before. I've kind of combined one of my earlier ones into another one. So yeah, this is just kind of me working out what's going to be in this year's book. But I watched this Criminal Minds show, and there's this blonde on there. I don't know who the hell she is. I guess I could find. Let's look at, like I say, in an effort to be true. I unlike other people that just like talk shit. I don't. Okay. So, Criminal Minds American drama series. AJ Cook. Let's see. Let's see if we can get some like more pictures of her. Yeah. I have no idea what she's doing now because a lot of these shows were so old but they had her on that show and she was like just like a doll, you know. Eye candy. But she's a white girl. See, because that show's old, that show is older. And I think I'm only into like the 5th season. So it's an older show, and I'm in the 5th season, so it's before the whole diversity thing took over. There's like a black dude on the crew, and there's black actors in the thing, but he's the minority of you know, the FBI, you know, team. So you got this white blonde doll, and the way the camera. See, you have to understand the movie business and how it works, like what goes on behind the scenes. See, a lot of people just they don't know. It's like people who watch the news. They're watching this news reader, and they don't know. They kind of know now because it's public knowledge that they have teleprompters, all right, that they're reading something. But they don't really know that in front of them are like is they're in a studio on a set, and there's all these people. I mean, they kind of know it because there's been movies made about TV and movies these days. Excuse me. But the average person still doesn't think about it. And they don't even know the whole thing. Like when I came up, I was in that business. And like even in college, like, I remember when I first took a television production course, and everyone had to take a particular role. You had to be a cameraman, you had to hold microphone, boom, you had to be on the floor, script person. You had to, and then the ultimate was to be like, to be, behind in the booth, and being the, deciding, being the production, man, I can't even think about it. You weren't the director. You were the technical, like a technical director. You're the guy who says camera 1, camera 2, switch the camera, and you had a headset on, and the guys with the cameras had a headset on. Okay. And you would say, you'd be there like, all right, camera 1, like move a little bit to the left and get ready, get a little bit close in on the blonde. Right. All right. Yeah, that's it. Okay. And then you'd go to the, then you'd say switch to camera 2, or switch to camera 1. And then you'd say camera 2, back up, get a 2 shot. Right. That's what you're whispering in the ear of the camera 2 guy. And then you're going to the things to switch to camera 2. Right. So people don't know that. It's all like this. It's all orchestrated. It's controlled. It's all manipulated, And when you're shooting a live or TV show and you're taping it, then it's edited, and then they can do all kinds of crazy stuff. But basically, I was watching this show, and the only reason I watch it because this blonde is a doll. And they shoot her like a doll. Right? The camera just touches, it's the way they just put her in the frame. And sometimes they show a little bit of skin and stuff like that, for American, TV perversion audiences. And so that was TV then. But TV now is a completely different animal. Now it's all about diversity, and, so every lead is a person of color. Every story is that way. It's a whole different thing. So they're tormenting, people want role models. It's like I was saying about, like, it's like the Cinderella story. It's like the Barbie doll thing with little girls and little boys. I want to grow up and be a fireman. I want to be a president, right? Or a little girl, I want to marry a prince, right? Or I want to marry a millionaire. Right? This is the conditioning they put people through, kids. It's indoctrination, conditioning, and propaganda. and the media is the center of everybody's life, and now politics is pop culture, and then this cult of personality. I talk about all that, but nobody really talks about what I'm talking about now because they're afraid to. It's that all media, Howard Stern used to say, I'm the king of all media, right? Well, all media now, whether it's music, which we showed earlier, the Billboard Top 40, Netflix, Amazon Prime, Hulu, television, network shows, they're all movies. They're all dominated by so-called people of color, which shouldn't even be a factor. Okay. Basically, they should just be people. That's the problem that's what I'm saying. These diversity people are trying to divide us by recreating something that existed, decades and decades and decades, was long since gone 50 years ago. Except for, there's always going to be some kind of weird bigot or some kind of weird person out there. Forget that. That's like there's always going to be a psychopath and, there's an active shooter somewhere. Yeah, so what? There's 19,000 homicides a year in the US, right? That means that there's a lot of wackos out there. Okay? Blowing it out of proportion is ridiculous. The problem is your social engineering is where you're failing as a society, right? If there's 47,000 suicides and 19,000 homicides, okay, you got a problem. Anyway,
Elvis has left the building.
I got to end
Thank
it there.
you and good night.
I'll talk to you tomorrow. Sorry about the quick stop. Cheers.